Welcome back to the Strong Opinion Hibs podcast. As always, I am Jack, and today I'm joined by Calvin and Charlie. How was your Christmas, lads, and how are we feeling?
Feeling good, mate. Aye, good Christmas. Was away to London to the darts on the 27th there. It was really good, and aye, nice time off work. Back to work this week, so aye, good break. Looking forward to this year.
Aye, my Christmas wasn't too bad. I got COVID 2 days before it, so it was a bit of a gutter staying in and that. But no, Christmas was just me and Hazel, but it was just as good. Really enjoyed it. I had a lovely meal and all of that, and just spent some nice time together and that, and with the Doug, and it was good, mate. It was good.
Yeah, that's good. Oh well, my
for yourself, I've seen you got just about everything in the Hibs shop for Christmas.
Got half the Hibs shop for Christmas. Aye,
that's ideal, by the way. I'm 26 and I'd still take that.
Aye. Wearing one of my presents the day, the third shirt. I had a really nice Christmas. It was great to spend time with the family, and it felt a bit more normal this year than it was, or last year, should I say, 2021, than it did in 2020. So, aye, it was a really good Christmas. So now that's me no caring about anything until the 22nd of February, my birthday now. So, aye, no, it was a good Christmas. I had a great New Year as well, because it was good to have New Year a bit more normal, because me and my mum went out for a meal on New Year's Eve, and of course we couldn't do that last year, so that was good as well. So this is obviously our first podcast of 2022. We'd like to wish our followers a very happy New Year as well, and we hope you all had a great Christmas from all of us. So today we'll be doing a season review and taking a quick look at transfers as well, because obviously, this was meant to be Derby Day, but it got moved. They brought the winter break forward, so we thought, why don't we just do a season review instead for both the men's and the women's team? So we'll just jump right into it, and we'll start off with Hibernian Women. So I'll rattle off some stats for you, and then we'll discuss the season, what we sort of thought. So we're currently sitting fourth in the league. We've obviously got our 2 Derby wins, 3-0 at Easter Road in front of a record crowd for Scottish women's football, and obviously that 3-1 win at Tynecastle as well. We unfortunately lost our SWPL Cup crown. We lost 2-1 to Celtic at the semi-final in Stirling. Have failed to beat the top 3 this season of Glasgow City, Rangers and Celtic. We haven't beaten any of them yet, but hopefully that changes. And those are just some of the stats that I thought I'd rattle off. So we'll sort of give our overall thoughts on the season now, and I'll come to you first, Calvin. What have been your overall thoughts on the season for Hibernian Women so far?
It's been good, but I think it's been a wee bit underwhelming at times. I think, yes, they've had some good results. They beat Hearts home and away in front of, obviously the record crowd, and then playing at Tynecastle was a good result. Not beating any of the Glasgow teams is probably it's not ideal if you want to be competing. They should have beat Celtic in that in the League Cup there. They should have definitely got more out of that match than they did. They were really unlucky. Like up against a few teams, it was Partick Thistle. So I think the girls will be feeling a wee bit not hard done by, but I think they feel like they could probably achieve more, because in terms of the team they've got there, they've got a really good team. In my opinion, I think all the pieces are there, all the right pieces are there. I don't really think they need to strengthen that much in any particular positions. So as I said, it's a really strong team. I think they do well to keep a hold of everybody in that team. The likes of Colette Kavanagh. I think she's been one of the standout players, Rachel Boyle. I think that they do well to keep them. I just feel like they're almost there. It's like they're 90% there, but they're just missing something. Something's missing. And I think it's maybe a bit of consistency. It's all right beating the teams around you, which they're quite good at, but I feel like it's a really good team, and I feel like they deserve a trophy. I don't know what your thoughts are, mate. It's obviously the first time I've followed the women's football really closely, but that would be my sort of review of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with that. I'll sort of give my thoughts after I've went over to Charlie. So Charlie, what have been your thoughts on the season so far?
Very similar to Calvin, mate. I think just a bit inconsistent at times. Obviously beating Hearts, and then we lose that late winner to, I think it was Celtic, and then obviously not laying a glove on Rangers and Glasgow City. I think it's obviously frustrating, because we want to be splitting the Glasgow in some capacity. And obviously, you know, losing silly games to like Partick Thistle as well. It reminds me of Hibs men a wee bit. You know, you win the games you're supposed to, and then you drop points when you're not supposed to. But I think you obviously, like Calvin said, the semi-final in Stirling was a bit of a stinger because, you know, they looked really good first half and came out and just fell apart straight away. Didn't really look at getting back into it. But I think overall inconsistent, but I think we're definitely going in the right direction. You know, obviously beating Hearts twice, that's what every Hibs fan asks, regardless of age and stage. So I think if we can, you know, if the girls can use that as a bit of momentum to kick on for the rest of the season, I think it will do them good. And then obviously looking ahead to the Scottish Cup and that, I think hopefully we're in the right frame of mind for going for that as well. And hopefully we can bring a cup back to the spaghetti had us at the end of the season.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you too. I think obviously I've been following the women's team a little bit longer, and I'm used to a certain level, shall we say, of success. So when I started following the girls, they were in Champions League. We were coming second every season. We were winning the Scottish Cup. We were winning the League Cup. We were doing the double quite regularly. So it's been a bit of a shock to the system, but you know we've got a good group, and I think we can challenge. I just think, you know, for me, the number one rule is you've got to beat at least two of the Glasgow sides if you want to be up there challenging them. We've not managed that. And I think we started really strongly. Obviously, we beat Spartans and we beat Motherwell. And then as soon as we came up against the teams that we know we struggle against, like Celtic, we started dropping points. I think Celtic and Rangers we were really unlucky against, especially Rangers. I think Rangers were just so jammy in that game at the Spaghetti had. If Kirsten Riley hadn't have put her laces through that shot, then we wouldn't have lost that game. I think it was Kirsten Riley. And it took a massive deflection as well. So you've got to look at it and you go, you know, unfortunately, you know, not to sound like Jack Ross here, but fine margins, eh? Fine margins. I'm bringing that back. But yeah, I definitely think that it's been a decent season so far. Just so sad to lose out on the League Cup though. You know, especially like the history we've got in that competition. And it was just so unfortunate, and it was a bit, you know, of a bitter pill to swallow as well, considering we went 1-0 up. I think looking at the Scottish Cup, we should challenge that. Definitely got St Johnstone away first. They're sort of mid-table in the SWPL 2, so we're playing a mid-table second division side, so we're more than capable. We've beaten two second division sides by 10 goals, or put 10 goals past them in the League Cup group stages. So it's definitely something we're capable of doing, is beating St Johnstone confidently. So I think we should go for the cup, because I think it would be good for Dean to get a trophy to sort of silence some of the critics as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. And then the next one for me, and I'll ask you two very quickly about this as well, is can we still push for Champions League? Obviously, I don't think we'll get it in terms of league placing, because you have to come first or second. The low third will become a Champions League spot depending on who wins the cup. So if whoever comes first or second, if first or second win the cup, third becomes a Champions League spot. Or if we win the cup, we'll get Champions League. So I'll come to Calvin on this one first. Do you think we can still push for Champions League football, and is it something we should be pushing for?
I think it's obviously got to be, if you're continuing on from success, I mean, look where we've been in the last couple of years, obviously that's where we should be pushing for. Because the women's game was kind of, you know, was kind of Hibs' game, really. And I feel like they've slipped away for that a wee bit. And I feel like, no, I don't think they will get it this year. I think they'll finish fourth. I don't think I've seen enough that I think they could, you know, upset one of the Glasgow three, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with that. Unfortunately, I would love to see us.
I mean, we're already what, 7 points behind third place Celtic.
7 points behind Celtic, which is going to be hard to make up.
You know what I mean? You're almost.
It's difficult, absolutely. And Charlie, your thoughts,
12
mate?
points behind Rangers. Do you know what I mean? It's in first place. It's a big ask.
If you look at the three above in front of us in the table, mate, they've all had a lot of money pumped into them. So I think it's a fair representation of where we are as a club. And I think that'll change over time, though. I think if what Ron's saying, that he's looking to sort of bring them more to the front fold, then I think we'll start to see that being more of a regular occurrence where we are pushing at the top of the league. But I don't think we'll finish in the top three. I think fourth is probably where we realistically will finish. And I think one of the top two probably will win the Scottish Cup. And hopefully, well, we obviously need to finish third to get Champions League, but I think it's going to be a tough ask, regardless of where we finish in the league, for anyone other than top two to win that cup. So I think we ideally need to finish third, but like Calvin said, we're 7 behind in third place, so we probably need to up the game a wee bit. But I think I've seen enough in what I've seen of Hibs women to know that they can do it. It's just the consistency element needs to come into play.
Definitely, and I think a lot of that comes down to we rotate the team far too much. I think as well. I think one thing I've always said, and I've said this pretty much since the start of the season, is we just need to pick a lineup and just stick with it. And you can rotate if players are getting tired or you've got injuries, but you need to have sort of like a base lineup and stick with it for me, because that's what Grant Scott always did when he was with us, and he wasn't exactly blessed with depth either. I've got to say, I think we've actually got a sort of deeper squad, if you see what I mean, than what Grant Scott had. It's just Grant Scott had some quality players in there. So one final thing for the women, just before we move on, is do we need to bring more players in? I'll come to you first, Charlie.
It's hard because I think we've got a good team, but if injuries start to creep in, we've lost Ailey Adams for an unnamed period of time, so we're maybe a wee bit thin on the ground up top. But I think it really depends. You don't really want to just bring in numbers to make up the numbers, if you know what I mean. You probably want to bring in some quality, but that requires some money being pumped in. So I don't think we do need to bring more players in, but I think in the summer you probably do. You're hoping that Ron or whoever's going to be dealing with that side of things will give the women some money to spend and maybe bring in some players from the German market or abroad. Jack, you're obviously more clued up on the German market than we are, so there's probably some players there that are probably cheaper on the end to buy. So I think I think we probably need to bring more players in eventually, but I don't think in January for sure.
I completely agree. And I've actually got a few I'm going to mention after I get Calvin's thoughts as well that I would like to see. So, Calvin, I'll come to you. What are your thoughts on that? Do we need more players?
I just think realistically, no. I don't think we do. Realistically, I don't think we need any new players. I think it's a good core group that Dean's got there. I just think that they need to be a bit more consistent, and I think they need to find us. I think rather than looking for new talent or new players, I mean, the addition of the Americans and things like that, I think has been really good. I think he just needs to find a formation rather than a whole new set of players, because I think the players that they've got are good. I just don't think it's clicking in terms of formation and things like that, because they're creating plenty of chances. They're just not able to tuck as many away per se. So that would be my sort of roundup of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I agree with what Charlie said, is we don't need to bring any new players in now in this window. I think it's in the summer because we'll lose a few. There's been rumours going about that, Kavanagh might be leaving, which would not surprise me at all. Players like Kavanagh and Gallagher are good enough to play in England or in Europe. So I definitely see that happening. There's a few players that I bring in. First of all, I think we need a new left back. Ever since Katie Rice left, I've been saying that we need a new left back, because Shannon Leishman, she's doing a great job, but she's still quite young. And also, it means having to put Rachel Boyle out there. And whilst Rachel Boyle can play there, it's been difficult because she's a midfielder, and also Shannon McGregor's been put back there a few times as well. So I think we need an out-and-out left back. I'm not quite sure as to who we'd bring in that respect, but I'm sure we've got options, and we've got a fantastic academy system that we can pick from as well. I think in terms of players that I'd like to see, and these might be slightly unrealistic, but you've just got to put names out there. I think Roxana Kravchuk, who scored against Scotland at Hampden for Ukraine, she's at Zlotaba to Kharkiv. Now the Ukrainian Women's Premier League is semi-professional like us, so she's not on any big amount of money, if any money at all. So I think it'd be easy to get a player like her over. She's doing well for Ukraine. She's doing well in a decent league in Ukraine. I'd bring her in. I think she'd be good in a front three with Alexa and Ailey up front, or she'd even be a good sort of backup for Ailey as well, whilst Ailey's out injured. So I'd definitely like to see Roxana Kravchuk, although the problem is a lot of WSL clubs are interested, and usually she'll want to go to England instead of coming up here. So it'll be interesting. But I think Ukraine's a market we should be looking at in terms of women's football. And then for Germany, I think there's 2 German players that I'd like to see, 3 actually. You've got Mandy Islacker from 1. FC Köln. and she is an older player. She's the wrong side of 30, but she's a decent midfielder, and she's got tons of experience in Germany. Doing okay, but I think she'd want European football as a sort of swan song. So try to get Mandy Islak. I think she'd be brilliant having that sort of experience in the team. She played in the World Cup with Germany. She's played in Champions League with Bayern. Then you've got two players from Karlsruhe Jena, Rita Schumacher and Werner Volkmar. Both are wingers. And I think we could be doing with some more wingers as well. Rita Schumacher, brilliant young player. Only 21. I think there's a lot of ability there. Werner Volkmar's got plenty of Frauen Bundesliga experience. She's played at Werder Bremen before and a few other clubs before she went to Karlsruhe Jena. Now it looks like Karlsruhe Jena are going down, so they'll want top flight football. And also, if we get Champions League, that'll be a big pulling factor for the two of them as well. So I think for me, three names from Germany: Islacker, Volkmar, and Schumacher. And then I'd love to see Roxana Krabchuk, because ever since I've seen her play against Scotland, I've just wanted to see her in a Hibs shirt, basically. She ripped Scotland's defence a new one in that game, and she's a fantastic player. So that's it for me. But like I said, those are players that would come in the summer, not in January. I don't think we need any players right now. So we'll move on to the men's season review now. Obviously, it's been mixed fortunes for us this season. It's been quite a roller coaster so far. And we'll start off with the European football. So obviously, we started off in the brand new Europa Conference League. It's our first time in Europe since Lennon left. So we beat Santa Coloma of Andorra 5-1 in aggregate, 3-0 Easter Road, 2-1 in Andorra. So that was in our first qualifying round. And then in the next qualifying round, we were knocked out by Rijeka of Croatia. So it was a 1-1 draw Easter Road. Of course, it was a bit disappointing that we were definitely capable of winning that game. And then we got hammered out in Croatia, 4-1, which meant it was a 5-2 loss on aggregate. So, guys, what were your thoughts on the European campaign? I'll come to you first, Calvin.
Overall, I think it was poor. I think it was really poor. I think we beat two teams that we beat Santa Coloma, who we were expected to beat. We sort of brushed them aside with no real problems. Although we did concede away from home, which was the start of the sort of worrying side, the worrying signs of things. For me, that Rijeka game, they were there for the taking at home. Too defensive, I felt again, not shooting enough from outside of the box, which has been a problem for the majority of our season. I felt like overall Lennon's stint in Europe was much more successful than Jack Ross's. I.e., last time we were in Europe, we were able to have a go at teams like what's that dead team from Denmark we played? Their name.
Brøndby.
Oh,
Brøndby, aye.
That's what I thought. You're talking about. You have to mention what Europa League campaign. There was two under Lennon.
No. I'm talking about the one when we played Brøndby and all of that, and we done really, really well. That was.
We did do well, to be fair, considering we were a championship side back then as well.
A lot more impressive than what we've seen this year. I think we were just happy to be there. If I'm honest with you, I didn't think it was an awfully great stint. I think we just seemed like we were happy to be there rather than actually do something to meet teams. It was like we've made it. We've worked hard to get third all year, and we're really pushed hard for getting third. And I didn't feel like we made the most of it. I thought we were way too relaxed, way too defensive, and I felt like we could have probably got more from that than we did. That's my honest review of it. I didn't feel like Rijeka were a better team than us by any stretch of the imagination. And if they were, there wasn't much in it. There certainly wasn't a 4-1 scoreline between us and them. Considering that home tie we had, and I didn't think they were 4 goals better than us, so to say. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like we really didn't really do ourselves a good set. Didn't get a good account of ourselves in Europe this year, and I think getting into Europe next year is going to be a tough ask because the league's very strong this year. I just don't feel like we've done enough personally.
Definitely.
I was quite disappointed with it.
Definitely, and I'll get your thoughts, Charlie.
Aye, very similar. I thought it was very poor. Thought we fell apart in Croatia. To be fair, I wasn't even that convinced with us against Santa Coloma, to be honest. I think we just the 3-0 at Easter Road. It was a pretty boring game to watch. And then the one in Andorra, very similar, pretty boring again. And then should have hammered Rijeka at Easter Road, and then we concede a second goal in Croatia and fall apart. So Aye, pretty poor overall. Not really happy with how our showing in Europe, both ties to be fair. And like Calvin said, it's going to be hard ass to get there this year, but I think we'll do a lot better if we're under the new management, which we'll come to later on. But I think it's a bit disappointing. And poor in the summer.
I think as well it goes to show you like how important Lennon was, because he was a winner. I mean, teams like Bromby didn't scare Lennon. Do you know what I mean? A team like Rijeka wouldn't have put Lennon off. He'd have fancied us for that. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like we were happy to be there to make up the numbers, and for me, as I said, it wasn't good enough. Wasn't particularly happy with that at all.
No, it wasn't. I mean, for me, I've got to agree with both of you. It was disappointing. You're drawing a team that came second in Andorra and won the Andorran Cup. You're expected to beat them, and even then, it wasn't convincing. Like when we played NSI Runovic, who are sort of a similar sort of side. And Faroe Islands league's better than Andorra, but that's the closest we've got in terms of a comparison. We beat them confidently at Easter Road. Yeah, it was a bit touch and go up there, but to be fair, that game should have never been played with the fog that was on, with the visibility on that pitch. I'm still to this day, I think that game should have been postponed because of the visibility, but we still won. So I think you look at that at Easter Road, it wasn't overly convincing, and yeah, the referee was shocking, but I still think like 3-0, it wasn't a great game of football. They played defensive, horrible, nasty football, and we just sort of let them do that. And then we go out to Andorra. Of course, we'll never know what the first half was like because the Andorran FA played a blinder and we didn't get their stream. So we'll never know what the first half was like. Second half, I thought we weren't convincing at all. They went 1-0 up, which I think fair play to them, but you should never be as aside from a top league in Europe, because the SPFL is a top league. We're sort of top 15. We should not be conceding to a team from one of the worst ranked leagues in Europe. That should not be happening. And I'm not disrespecting them at all. That's no disrespect to them. I'm just saying we should not let that happen when we had senior players out. It wasn't like we put junior players out. We had Paul McGinn, Paul Hanlon, Porteous. We shouldn't have been conceding. And then, the Rijeka game at Easter Road. I knew we shouldn't have been scared of a team like Rijeka, absolutely. But I knew they were going to be tough opponents because they gave Aberdeen a tough time of it. Quite a few times. Twice Aberdeen played them, they gave Aberdeen a tough time of it, and even put Aberdeen out once. But it's still a team, and that performance Easter Road, we were all over them. We should have beat them, and then we go.
But we had international players in our team at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like we had internationals in our team, like guys that have played international football as well, like Kevin Nisbet at the time. Hanlon's had a few caps, things like absolutely. That as well. Like there's no excuses. For me, it was poor. Like, and I feel like I said, I think it came down to the fact that we were. I think we probably were just happy to be there.
Yeah, it was an attitude of we're happy to be, which shouldn't be. So I think you look at it like that. That game at Easter Road was just so frustrating, and then we completely fell apart. Like Daniel Mackay missing what would have been a golden opportunity. That's 2-1. That could have been a completely different game out in Croatia, and then we go to Croatia, and we just fall apart. McGregor gets sent off. We are just it was just soul destroying. It was soul destroying. What's even worse is if we'd beaten Rijeka, looking at the way the playoff rounds got rigged, we would have got through. We would have been in the group stages. Look at Lincoln Red Imps made it. Now that's what makes it even worse is a team that came second in Gibraltar got into the group stages and we didn't. That's what makes that worse. And that's what I mean. The Europa Conference League had that many sides from these little countries in it, like Luxembourg, like San Marino, like Andorra, that we could have made it because we were going to avoid teams like Union Berlin and Tottenham in the playoff round anyway. So teams that come seventh in the top leagues, we would have avoided them. So it was there. We could have got into the group stages of a European competition, and I think we ruined it for ourselves. So it was extremely disheartening and frustrating. And I think it's going to be a big ask. But I think Sean Maloney, if he does get his European football, I think it'll be a lot better. So we'll move on from the Europa Conference League and the disappointment there. And we'll go on to the League Cup campaign and very briefly cover that. So a League Cup campaign started off with a 2-0 win against Killie at Easter Road. That was back when we still had limited capacity. So 2-0 win over Tommy Wright's championship killie. We then went up to Tannadice and got a 3-1 win against Dundee United. And I think that was one of the best performances of the season to me in that first half. And probably, I think, one of Jack Ross's last truly convincing performances as well at Hibs, to be honest. And then we went to the semi-final and put in a decent, well, it was more than decent showing against the Rangers. 3-1 win against them. So they still haven't beaten it. The Tribute Act and Old Rangers still haven't beaten us at Hampden. And then, unfortunately, Davy Gray's Green and White Army just fell at the final hurdle, a 2-1 loss in controversial circumstances to Celtic in the final. So I'll come at you first, Charlie. What were your thoughts on the League Cup campaign?
For me, it's the bare minimum where I expect us to be every year. I expect us to be the semi or the final in both competitions every year. So I was happy that we got to the final. Obviously, disappointing end to the campaign, but I think I wasn't at the Killie one, so I can't comment. And I never watched the highlights. But the Dundee United one, the Rangers one, 2 convincing performances to get to the final. So that's what you're wanting against teams in and around you in the league. And I thought Celtic were there for the taking. I really did. I thought we could have won that cup. I predicted 3-0. I was probably overconfident going into the game, but I thought we had a chance. And I think it's the bare minimum where I expect us to be every season. I want us to be. We were there last year, obviously got embarrassed by St Johnstone, but we're getting there consistently, and that's my expectations of Hibs, is to be at Hampden a minimum of 3 times a season. And we've already been there twice this season, so I think the League Cup was a disappointing end, but all in all, it's where I want us to be every year. So I was relatively happy with it in the final.
Absolutely. So Calvin, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think we beat some good teams to get to the final. I think, unfortunately, the way it fell, that we had to play both Celtic and Rangers to get to the final. Obviously, Celtic in the final and Rangers in the semi. I mean, that's a very tough ask. Usually, if you're going on a cup run, you want to be lucky and try and avoid them. Just being realistic, you want to try and avoid at least one of them. So I think we were quite unfortunate in the fact that we drew both of them. But saying that again, I mean, we have had times where we've played teams that are, like St Johnstone last year. It didn't really make that big a difference because we still struggled in the final. For me, I'm with Charlie to a certain extent. I do want us to get to finals, and I'm excited we get to finals. But the amount of finals that we lose as a club, like, that has to be stamped out.
Yeah,
like, that seriously has to be stamped out. That shit has to go, because if Ron and that are trying to build this culture of success, then yes, it is good getting to the final and things like that, but it's not enough.
Yeah,
it's not enough.
Absolutely.
They have to do more. They have to get over that final hurdle. They have to find out what the recipe is to get over that and make those changes to go over it. Because that's a lot. I think we've probably got one of the worst cup records in the country. I think we've been the runner-up 17 times.
It's in and around that, definitely.
It's not good enough, that's for sure. I'll tell you that. I mean, I've been to Hampden a lot of times with Hibs. And I always come away disappointed. And you're right, it does make it sweeter when you get that victory, but it is few and far between. Yeah, it's a good run. Unfortunately, we came up against Celtic, who at the time were hot. They've got a £5 million centre back, they've got a £1 million goalkeeper, and they've got Kyogo up front. I don't know how much he is, but he's obviously a very good player. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, we didn't do enough. But for me, we did. I'm sounding quite negative today, but I'm just being an honest review. I've been fairly disappointed with how invested I've been in Hibs this year, that we have fallen short several times. And I just think, for me, we've been so sort of we've been very passive in games. I feel like the game just happens to us rather than us putting our foot on the game and trying to put a mark on the actual the match. We just sort of just react. We're very reactive rather than proactive. Like, we don't try and get on the front foot in these games and create stuff. And you can see what happens when we do get on the front foot against Rangers and have a go at them. Ken, that team's good enough to pump teams like that, and we did. We absolutely pumped Rangers. Do you know what I mean? Like, why can we not do that to Celtic? I mean, arguably Rangers are a better team than Celtic. Do you know what I mean? There's no much between them anyway. So why did we not go and try and get on the front foot? For me, I feel like we tried to avoid, quite similar to the women, we tried to avoid losing quite a lot of the big games rather than going out there to try and win them. And I think that's something that's going to have to be stamped out of Hibs this sort of next to get us past that threshold. We had the monkey on our back about the cup final, no one in the cup for 114 years. We got that monkey off our back, and you seen that it sort of gave us a breath of fresh air and a bit more freedom to play and not worry in cups. But for me, it just was panic merchants, panic stations whenever we get to close to some sort of glory, i.e. in Europe. I mean, why did we not go for it against Rijeka? Why did we not throw players on and try? You've got to win your home matches like that, for example. You've got to win your home matches. Far too passive again, just letting the game happen. 1-1, all right, we'll see what we can get over there. We're not getting any, very, very few times I've ever had a great result away in Europe. Do you know what I mean? Like, not in my lifetime anyway. So for me, you had to win your home games in the European tie. And I just think against teams that, that are maybe potentially on par with us, or perhaps are a wee bit better, like Celtic and Rangers, we're very reactive rather than proactive. We don't try and assert our game. We just let the game happen, and we just try and match whatever they do rather than putting in our own game plan. I understand that was under Jack Ross, and Maloney's obviously changed that mindset for me, because I believe we would have lost that Dundee United game under Jack Ross, and I think we would have lost the Aberdeen game as well. So I think Maloney is changing the sort of changing the mindset of the players. But I do believe that it's not been good enough. We've not been, like Ron said in his interview with us when he came on the podcast, he wants Hibs to be a bit of an ugly team, a bit of a hard to beat team. We haven't been hard to beat this year. That's the problem, and you see that because it takes Celtic a minute to equalise against us in the final. Rangers missed a lot of chances in that semi-final as well. Don't forget that. And we only needed 3 shots on target. Didn't get me wrong, but it's all we had. And for Rijeka to put 4 goals past us as well, unfortunately, it's not been good enough defensively for me this year. And that's my rant over.
Oh, good, because I get a chance to speak now, eh?
Right.
So, I mean, for me, the League Cup camp, I agree with Charlie that we should always, bare minimum, we should be getting...
You used to disagree on anything?
Well, quite a few things, actually.
Your best mates.
I agree with, sorry to jump in, Jack, but I agree, Calvin. I should have probably said that. I also expect us to win something now and again rather than just get there.
I agree.
Because participation medals are nice, but you can't get much money for them at the pawn shop, whilst winners' medals are...
Yeah, well, the fans don't get anything for participation.
Absolutely. I think that's it. We need to be... There's obviously, let's be honest, us losing things is as old as the hills. It's been happening since we were founded. It's just a thing. It's really unfortunate, and it needs to change. And I think Ron Gordon and the staff that he is bringing in are going to change that culture, which is what we need. We need that culture to change. But for me, I wasn't happy with the final because it was really disappointing. It was a bitter pill to swallow. It's a bit of a theme at Hibs going 1-0 up against Celtic in big games and then ended up losing 2-1 because the girls did that as well. But I think you look at it like this, you need to beat, like, it's not rocket science that in Scottish football, if you want to achieve anything, you need to beat Celtic and Rangers. That's just it. It doesn't matter what level of Scottish football you're at. You need to beat Celtic and Rangers to achieve it, whether it's at youth level or at senior level. You need to beat Celtic and Rangers. That's just it. That's the recipe. And I think that's the problem, is we do well against Rangers, and then Rangers fans joke about it, Sevco fans joke about it, but they're actually quite right. Is we'll do well against them, and then we'll go to Hampden and lie down for Celtic. And I think we didn't. I wouldn't say we laid down in the final, but I just still think that, like, conceding a minute after you've scored it's not right. It's not right at all. And I think it was quite frustrating. So our next trip to Hampden is hopefully more successful, and hopefully we can bring a cup home. I'd like to see us win trophies regularly, because we're a club that should be doing that. We're a club that's capable of winning trophies regularly. So I've got to say that but at the same time, it was a decent enough run. I thought 3-1 against Rangers and 3-1 against Dundee United were 2 of the best performances I've seen under Jack Ross. And I think the 2-0 at Easter Road, I mean, we're playing a championship Kelly who weren't exactly in the. I mean, they thought Stephen McGinn was a good signing. That's all I've got to say on that front. So, and he didn't even play. But I think beating that Kelly side was expected. We should have done that. We played well, and to be honest, on the day it could have been a lot more than 2-0. And then we played. We had two very good, and it's just the final was a bitter pill to swallow for me. But I think the culture needs to change. This whole Hibs in it thing needs to get in the bin. We've been saying that for years and years and years, but I think now that we've got the monkey off our back of the Scottish Cup curse, I think we just need to constantly be challenging for silverware, and we can build that up because we should. The name we are a big name in Scottish football. We should be the third most successful side. Obviously, you're not even going to put a dent in the trophies that Celtic have. I refuse to say Rangers. We've already put a dent in Rangers' Division 4 title in Petrofac Cup. So we'll move on for that one. But
but you have to look at Hearts as well as a sort of platform. I mean, look at when Romanov.
Exactly. They've won more Scottish Cups. They've won. I think they've won the same amount of League Cups.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying like in our lifetime, like look at when Mad Vlad came in. Do you know what I mean? Like, what did he win them? 2 Scottish Cups. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
He invested a lot of money into that squad.
They also split
the old firm.
Exactly. Hearts won. I think that's
Ron Gordon putting his money in his pocket. Like if he's got to put his hands in his pocket, do you know what I mean? It can be done. And then you forget Hearts split the old firm when the old firm had the likes of Dada Purcell, Nat Genovo, they weren't the donkeys. They were good players, like they weren't in it, like a lot better than they are nowadays.
Oh, absolutely.
So they broke the bank for those type of players. And obviously they paid for it in the long run, but they were still successful under that regime.
Yeah, exactly. I've got to say that.
Successful.
As much as I don't ever like saying anything nice about them, you've got to say it. Hearts are a platform of what we should be looking at. Is if you get an owner with money that's willing to spend it, you've got to do it. And that's the thing and I've noticed that, and it's just the thing more historically for me that
Hearts got to make it count.
Hearts seem to challenge the old firm, or seem more willing to challenge the old firm now and again. We used to. You look back. I
think their fans have got a lot more belief than us, though. I'll say that. Like when they get to finals, and that it's they're expecting.
Yeah, I think it's going back to a culture thing, and I think that's what we want to change. So we'll move on for the League Cup. But I completely agree with all the points made there. I think it was unfortunate, and the way we lost, bitter pill to swallow, and we should be challenging for trophies more. But I think Sean Maloney's got to change it. I have a funny feeling, and we'll mention this later, that Sean Maloney in his time at Hibs will get us a trophy, whether it's the League Cup or the Scottish Cup, or maybe even both. If Callum Davidson can do it, Sean Maloney can do it. Put it like that.
Champions League.
We'll just go for it all. The Club World Cup, fancy that. I mean, it's not as diddy as the Petrofac Cup, and Rangers are pretty happy about winning that. So we'll go on to talking about the league campaign. So I'll just rattle off some of my notes of the league campaign, and then we'll sort of discuss it in general, because there'd be too much. We need a whole other podcast to discuss it sort of in depth, if you see what I mean. And we don't want to bore the poor people. So I'll just rattle off some of the things about the league campaign. So we started well in the league, 3-2 win at Fir Park to get us kicked off. Then we had a 3-0 win at home over Ross County. We also had a 2-0 win over Livy. Dropped a few silly points here and there. Dundee away. I think in the derby, neither team really should have won the derby, to be honest. The goalkeepers were the heroes, but I think it's still points dropped. You always want to win a derby. And then we also drew with St Mirren at home when we were 2-1 up with 2 minutes to go, which was very, very frustrating. And trust me, sitting next to Charlie that day wasn't a pleasant experience. But so there's that. Then that was a decent enough start, I'd say. We were looking pretty solid. There was some warning signs there, but apart from that, we were playing okay football and we were getting results. However, it all goes horribly wrong for Jack Ross. There's a 2-1 loss at Ibrox. That starts off a chain reaction. 3-0 loss at home to Dundee United, which is, I'd say, one of our worst performances since the season we went down. I've got to say that now. I mean, I've seen some bad stuff at Easter Road in my time, but that was one of the worst performances I'd ever seen out of Hibs team at Easter Road. And I watched Fenlon and Butcher, so trust me, I've seen some pretty bad Hibs performances, but I think that one was a bad one. And then we went on a bit of a run, also losses to Livy and Ross County, dropped a lot of points against Motherwell after going 1-0 up. We did get 2 wins over our bogey team, St Johnstone, which were good wins, right enough. The 1-0 Easter Road.
Who's not beat them this year, though? That's a real question, Jack. Who's not beat them?
Exactly. They're going
That's
down.
why they're bottom of the league.
Very pleasing, I've got to say that. I know, not that I'm vindictive or anything like that. And then all I've got to say is karma's a bitch, Callum Davidson. That's all I've got to say. No, so he had so obviously 2 wins over them. Although I'd say the one at Easter Road was slightly lucky with the Boyle penalty. I don't think we would have won it. We could have played, or we could have played for the whole week and we wouldn't have scored against them if it hadn't been for that penalty. So we went on a really bad run, and it ends in Jack Ross getting the sack, which, to be honest, I don't think any of us were surprised when that came. And then David Gray took over as intern for 2 league games and the final. So the 2 league games was a 1-1 draw against St Mirren away, and then a 1-0 win thanks to the most hilarious own goal I've ever seen against Dundee at Easter Road. So after that, Sean Maloney is appointed as our new manager. Very exciting appointment, try to say. Just forgive me whilst I have a stroke there. Then 2 wins out of 2 for Sean Maloney. 1-0 home win over Aberdeen. Nice early Christmas present there, thanks to a Ryan Porteous header. And then a very confident 3-1 away win at Dundee United. Great performance, and really showing what Maloney's trying to build. So I'll just very, very quickly, before we go into transfers, get your overall thoughts on the league campaign so far, and I'll come to you first, Calvin. Now, no ranting and raving this time, all right?
Listen, I'm trying to make it a bit exciting for the viewers, but also I've not been able to speak about Hibs for a couple of weeks, so I'm just letting it all go.
Good on you.
Overall, I think it's been a season that I think a lot of people would probably be quite maybe disappointed with, seeing how good we were last year. Mind you, one thing I will say is I think it's probably been a half decent season considering where we are at this time. I mean, we're not completely out of the race. I think we switched managers at a good time. I agree with you. The Jack Ross football was all right. I mean, it wasn't horrendous, but at times it bloody was horrendous, and it was hard to watch.
It was really hard.
I mean, we're currently sitting in 5th place, and bearing in mind, I think one of the most important things to remember this year is that it's actually a very competitive league. I mean, Motherwell are a good team. Hearts are a good team, Celtic and Rangers obviously, and Aberdeen as well. So you've got 6 teams in there, including ourselves, and Dundee United as well, that are probably looking to push for that that European place. I think Europe could be up for grabs between Hearts, Motherwell, Hibs, Aberdeen, and Dundee United. I mean, that 3rd spot is a really, 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 it's really up for grabs. But I think Motherwell will fall away because they're losing Tony Watt to Dundee United. It looks like I think they'll fall away. And I think 3rd place is definitely still alive. We're only 7 points off it. Ken, that's 2 wins really, and a draw, 3 wins. I think we're capable of doing that. I think with the injection of the new players like Chris Mueller and that on the wing, I think we'll be much more of a threat going forward. And I think something we've lacked massively this year for me is goals. The amount of goals that we've scored, I don't think we've scored enough. I think we've been too reliant on Boyle. I feel like other people need to help him out. But no, I mean, 5th in the league, we're 7 points off of 3rd place. The whole half a season to go, and we've already been in 1 final. You can't really complain being a Hibs fan. I said at the start of the year, I think I said if you finished 5th, you couldn't really grumble. I mean, top 6 consistently is where Hibs need to be. A lot of folk will think I'm settling, but I'm not. Listen, most of my lifetime growing up, Hibs they've jumped a bit between 3rd and probably 9th. Anywhere in between 3rd and 9th, you could throw a data in it, and that's where they'll be change each year. I think consistently top 6, pushing for top 4 is really realistic for a club of our size and the magnitude of the players we get and things like that. I think in a cup final every now, a cup win every now and then, I don't think you can really ask for much more. I think 4th place in a cup final would be probably sufficient this year and something to build upon. But I feel a lot more excited when Maloney coming in. If it was Jack Ross that had stayed on, I think we'd have been bottom 6, maybe top of the bottom 6, bottom of the top 6, somewhere in there. Mid-table. I think we would have been a mid-table team. We'll get on to it, but I think the sort of the players at Maloney and that's looking to bring in, and some of the transfers that he's looking at is quite exciting. And I think that's the type of players you need to be looking at to get higher up this table, personally. But no, overall, it's been a half decent season. It looks like it's getting better, though, and I think we'll peak at the right time. Yeah. I think Hearts now probably peaked a bit early. I think we'll peak at the right time.
Oh, definitely. I've got to agree with what you've said there, Calvin. You've sort of taken a bit of my speech there as well, so that's great. I'll always find a way to talk, so it's fine. Charlie, we'll get your thoughts, mate.
I probably very similar to Calvin, but I think I'm more disappointed than anything else about the season so far. I think it's got shades of last season written all over it, where we lost silly points to Livingston and Ross County. It's funny that 2 seasons in a row. But no, I think my biggest problem this year has been defensively. I think we're shipping far too many goals, and something will change now. I think with Maloney, and I think we'll concede less. But something's not going right there. But no, I think look, we had a good start.
Sorry to interrupt you. I thought we were quite good at beating the teams around us last year, like the Ross Counties and the Motherwells and teams like that. Like, we've struggled with that this year.
We have.
But the league is competitive. It's like a really competitive. It's probably the most competitive league that I can ever remember in the last 10 years anyway, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely.
This is probably the most competitive the league's been in the last 10, 15 years, I would say.
There's lots of quality sides in there, and sides that you'd expect to be in and around sort of like relegation, they're not there. You get shocking. It's quite shocking that a double winning St Johnstone side are bottom of the league. You came into the season.
But they've been estimated with the players they lost as well. Though.
It's actually been quite funny, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's karma.
I didn't mind them. I mean, if we had a pair of balls about us, we would have won at least one of those cups. It's our own fault. Do you know what I mean?
But at the same time, we're Hibs fans, so like being bitter about things, don't we?
I would trade it. I would trade Hibs going doing this year for 2 cups last year. 100%. I would. Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, the leagues, we know in Scotland that the leagues are right off. It's always going to be either Rangers or Celtic. Unfortunately, that's an unfortunate fact. So I think, cups. I think it's all about cups if you know an old firm team, to be honest.
I'd have took that. I'd have took 2 cups when I was going doing this year. I wouldn't be bothered, man. I'd still be on a high for last year.
St Johnstone for Perth in the middle of nowhere, up sort of in the Tory area of Scotland, and they're they played some big European team. What was it? What big Turkish team was it?
They done bloody well. Galatasaray. They done bloody well, mate.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they did well against them, like especially taking a draw in Turkey. And so I've got to say, but anyway, it's been competitive. And for me, I think I've got mixed opinions on the league campaign. I think it started really, really well. So I was happy with the start we got off to. I thought it was brilliant. Middle bit let us down, obviously, and that sort of led us to Jack Ross being sacked. But I completely agree with Calvin, because I'm done with agreeing with Charlie, so I'll start agreeing with Calvin now, so he doesn't feel left out. But I think we switched managers at the right time. Absolutely, I think Sean Maloney's building something. You can tell. Like I was sitting there saying to Charlie, you could notice the improvement under Maloney against Aberdeen. You could notice it like straight away. And I think, defensively, that's been our biggest problem, which is complete opposite of last season. Last season, I thought we didn't score enough goals when we should have, but we were solid at the back. This season, we've still not scored enough goals when we should have, but the back's not been as good. And that's what led us. Some games we grounded out results last season. This season, because we don't, the defence just, I don't know. The defence
has probably made the strikers look worse.
Yeah, I think I just don't understand, because it's the same players, but I think we're getting there. We're getting there. And
just to quickly add as well, because I thought at this point, sorry to interrupt you, but
no problem. Go on.
In terms of the league being that competitive, what I mean is that I don't think there's a player in like every one of those top 7 teams for Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Motherwell, Aberdeen, Hibs, and Dundee United. I think there's at least one player in each of those teams that would get into all other teams. If that makes sense. So, for example, there's definitely one player in the Aberdeen team that would get into the Hibs team. There's definitely a Hibs player that would probably get into the Celtic team. There's probably a Motherwell player that could get into the Hearts team. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody's got decent players that are probably better than
what another team have got. And I think
another team have got at a certain position. And that's why I think the league's so competitive. Like, you take Tony Watt off of Motherwell.
That's an amazing signing.
I mean, Tony Watt would have probably got a game ahead of Kevin Nisbet at times this season.
Well, can I be honest? I've got to say it's criminal that Tony Watt didn't get into the Scotland team ahead of Kevin Nisbet, to be honest. I think Tony Watt's a brilliant player, but you're looking at it, and it's actually reminded me of something. I was watching an interview with Dick Campbell on BBC Scotland, and he made a very good point. He said, there's no point in bringing in players that are just as good or worse than what you've already got. I agree with him on that, and that's your point's been made brilliantly there, Calvin, is this is an uber competitive league this season. And you've got sides like Dundee United who are really talented, and like what a signing that is, bringing in Tony Watt. I'd take Tony Watt Easter Road. I know he's a Hearts so-and-so.
We'll get on to the transfers in a minute, mate.
Well, yeah, well, anyway, we'll move on. And like, just to sum up what I've got to say about the league is, it was a good start, disappointing middle, but hopefully, like most of the Harry Potter books, it's a good ending. Good start, disappointing middle, good ending. That's what we're going for there. We'll call it a J.K. Rowling season. But I definitely think that it's going to be a good end under Maloney, and we'll make a serious push. I can't see third, but I could see fourth and getting European football via getting fourth. So that's how it's going to go. And we'll very briefly talk about the Scottish Cup. So we've obviously drawn Cove Rangers at home on Thursday night, which is a bit of a weird one, Thursday night for a cup game. But anyway, not to complain. I was hoping for a nice sort of exciting away tie at a lower league ground, because I love these lower league grounds. But we've got Cove Rangers at home, which is, I think a decent enough game for us. Obviously, Scottish Cup winner 5A will be returning to Easter Road as well. So I'll very, very briefly get your thoughts on that, the tie-in. How do you think we'll do? So come to you first, Charlie. What do you think of getting Cove, and how do you think we'll do in the Cup this year?
I'm more concerned about the idea that we might not be able to go to the game, mate, to be honest. I think that's really what I'm thinking for the rest of the season, to be fair. I think I'm not going to get into it on the podcast, but people will know my views on the fact. But no, I think as a tie we should win. Like you, I wanted an away tie. I wanted to go to Stirling Albion or something. A team like that. It'll be a home tie for me. I live in Stirling now, but like
you can't come on now. We can't play that game. Let's get teams that are near us. Okay, I want us to play Broxburn now.
I would take I would have liked us to get in a wee away game where
absolutely
that 500 fan rule might have made a wee bit of difference that we, But no, I think we should. We'll probably put 5 or 6 past them. I think the way we're playing football just now, I think we should. And the new signings will get bled in, and I think comfortable 6-0 win is what I'm going for it.
Right, and Calvin, very quickly, your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't really have a score prediction, but I think obviously Cove Rangers is a team you're looking to beat. You should probably like to see some of the new signings and that, maybe rotate the squad, maybe Maloney can try a different formation or something like that. But no, I think Cove Rangers, it's a good draw for us. We'll beat them and we'll get through.
Yeah, I think there's a 3 division gap there. They're League One, so definitely should be, or 2 division gap, I should say. Sorry. So we should beat them. Just it's plain and simple. We should beat them, and we should beat them confidently, and hopefully we can get a good run in the cup. So we'll very quickly, because people will be getting fed up with our voices at this point, we'll very quickly talk about transfers. So Chris Mueller and Dylan Tate have officially become Hibs players now. They're in training. So very excited for both, especially Dylan Tate. I mean, obviously, we're all excited about Mueller. We don't need to talk about that overly much because I think everybody's excited about Mueller. But I think Dylan Tate, the lad's got potential. Put in a decent shift for Wraith this season, has been part of what is a decent Wraith side as well. Now, going on to our potential incomings, we've got Clark, Henderson and Melkerson all look set to join soon. They all look set to be Hibs players soon. Obviously, Clark has been heavily linked with us. Norwegian TVs basically say Melkerson's more or less a done deal. Hibs have made a substantial offer for him. I think it's about the 350,000 mark for him. That's what I've been seeing. So Norwegian press saying that it's
you got 2 league references for that back in the day.
Norwegian press are saying that it's more or less done. And obviously Henderson's been told that he's free to leave Celtic, and we've been heavily linked with him. So I want to briefly talk about Melkerson. So he looks like a particularly impressive player with 17 goals in 26 games for Ranheim KF in the Norwegian second tier. So obviously he's a Bodo Glimt player, but has been on loan at Ranheim TF in the Norwegian second division. So very, very, very quickly, Calvin, what do you think of this Melkersen lad?
Well, I used to live in Norway, so I know quite a lot about Norwegian football, and I follow it quite closely, to be honest with you. I think that there's not a hell of a lot between the Scottish SPL and the Norwegian league. I think there's good teams, there's good players in that Norwegian league. I think we've seen that when we played Molde. I think quite a lot of their players would have got in our team. I think even though it's a step down in the second division in Norwegian football, I think you have to remember that there's still some good players in the Championship in Scotland. So it's not like we're sort of taking a cheap-ish sort of option. I think maybe they're trying to look at. I'm excited the fact that Hibs looking at different leagues. We're looking at different leagues in terms of it's not sort of like a boring signing. It's quite exciting. I mean, he's obviously a young lad. He's scoring goals. He's enjoying his football. I think if he comes here and he plays under Maloney, I think he'll do really well. Do I think he'll go into the team straight away? No, I don't. I think he could potentially be a replacement for the young lad who we've been playing up at front now, Jamie Gillan. It could be some sort of replacement for him. If he goes back to Wraith or something like that, or if he goes out on loan, or do we buy him and do we loan him to someone? Because do we buy him and loan him back to Bodmo, England? I'm not sure what's really going to happen there, because I know they've signed him on a permanent deal. And just at 19 years old, I think he's a really exciting prospect, and I'm really looking forward to having him in the team. And like a lot of those Norwegian laddies, they're big and powerful in that as well. And you can see, there obviously is a lot of good talent in those leagues, because you look at Odegaard and that.
Haaland as well.
He was young when he went to go sign for. He was young when he went to go sign for Real Madrid and all that. And obviously the boy Haaland as well is phenomenal. He's only 22 years old, so he was banging in the goals at 19 and that as well. So I think it's going to be a good signing. It's a good league to look into. It's a really good league to go into. And that Bodmo Glint as well, like they're a good team. Like they've came from absolutely nowhere. They won the Norwegian division last year as well. Beat Molde and Rosenborg to the title, and they're up at the top again this year as well. So
and they pumped Roma. They pumped Jose Mourinho's Roma.
Exactly. They beat Mourinho's Roma as well. So
I genuinely think they could beat Celtic as well, on an unrelated note, in the Conference League as well, knockout rounds.
I hope so.
So, Charlie, what are your thoughts on this lad?
I think it's an exciting one. Like Calvin, I think he's a good squad player. I don't think he'll be a starter anytime soon. I think being 19, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. If you're, starting striker for Hibs, we've got a very toxic fan base. So if he's not scoring, he'll be hounded out.
Including you.
Including myself, including yourself, including myself. You're right.
You're yourself. That's right. I mean, amount of times we can't repeat the things I've shouted at Kevin Nisbet for the stands on here.
But I think it's an exciting one in terms of I'm glad we're not looking at Championship.
Yeah, I know exactly.
I think this is probably the marker that Ron wants to set. He's looking to spend money in countries that we wouldn't usually. And I think I like that. On an unrelated note, I like what Celtic are doing, that they're looking for places that their managers managed before. And I hope that's what we're going to do in Maloney.
Lukaku, please. That's all. He's not happy at Chelsea. So
Lukaku and De Bruyne would be ideal. But I think even Belgian league, I think there's probably some hidden gems there that Maloney will know of. Probably not work close to lift because they're probably not in the Belgian team. They'll be coming to Hibs. But you know what I mean. I think there is some players that probably could be coming from there. But I think it's an exciting one. I think it's good to see we're getting our business done early for a change, because so many times in January we bring in. You remember when we brought in Klaros and Kajabi, and that was last day of the window pretty much, and we brought 5 in on loan. They were all rubbish. So except Klaros
was good.
Klaros was good, but I think getting our business done early. We've already got 2 in, Mueller and Tate. Very good signings. I don't think Tate will feature much, to be honest, but
Mueller's going to be a starter for me.
Mueller's
definitely.
He's your starting left mid over Jamie Murphy.
Get Murphy in the bin, man. Get him in the bucket.
Get him in the bucket.
I was watching highlights of that Mueller last night. He looks frightening, by the way, in that wing.
He's
pick it up passing that and pick it across. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
I think Melkersen's a very exciting player for us. I'm going to go against you two here. which makes a change for disagree. See, we do disagree about things, Calvin. Me and
It's a
Charlie.
strong opinion podcast. It's the agreement podcast. What's the agreement makes it all the time.
Well, I'm going to give you a strong opinion. I think Melkerson, he'll come in and he'll run the show in his position. I genuinely think this lad, because all I've got to say is a lot of people are saying it's taking a punt. I've got to agree, but Red Bull Salzburg took a punt on Haaland. Let's be honest, he was a lad that had a decent season for Molde, and he took a punt. I think the Österreicher Bundesliga is at about our level as well, maybe just slightly better. So I think you look at that. This boy
Gunnarsson, and that was a good player as well for that Norwegian league, mate.
Exactly. So
Cup winner, cup legend.
You look at it like that we've had experience with Norwegian players before as well with Gunnarsson, and you look at it. It is a talent factory. Norway is a talent factory. They've got good players there. They've got a good setup in terms of how they train the young players, and they've got a good attitude towards football in Norway, as Calvin will probably know. And I think it's good that we're looking at different markets. We're also obviously looking at the League of Ireland. A few lads like the likes of St. Pat's and everything. Ron Gordon's talked about looking at Eastern Europe, which I think would be good because there's some exciting players in the Ukrainian leagues, in the Russian league, in the Belarusian and Czech leagues and everything like that. So I definitely think it's good that we're looking at different markets. Because to be honest, Jack Ross and Graham Mattey, all they really knew was lower leagues in England, so Championship, League One, or other Scottish teams. So I think it's been great that we are looking at different markets and that we're moving fast in the transfer window. I agree, Mueller's going to come in and start. Let's be honest, if he doesn't start ahead of Jamie Murphy, then I'm going to cry. It's as simple as that. I think Mueller is going to be absolutely fantastic for us. I think if you get if you can get Kevin Nisbet with the right attitude, or even get Doidge back to full fitness. If you get Doidge back to full fitness, or Kevin Nisbet with the right attitude up front with Melkerson and Mueller, we've got the attack sorted. That's it to me.
It'll take a bit pressure off Nisbet as well, because I feel sorry for Nisbet, because Nisbet is our only outball up front. As well as it's Boyle. I mean, Doidge has been injured. He's carried the team. He's played a lot of minutes, but at the same time, he's not had great service this year. Nisbet. It's not been put on a plate for him. He's had to work hard to score his goals and that. Do you know what I mean? It's not been easy for him.
To me, I think
getting in more help is going to be really good for him.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I want to play
fresh air for him.
I want to play devil's advocate and say there's a lot of strikers that don't particularly get good service, but their work rate means that they can do that individually. I think Nisbet's work rate lets them down sometimes, and I think that's been an unfortunate fact. I'm not a big Kevin Nisbet fan. I prefer Doidge as a player, so it'll just be interesting to see. So I'll quickly say that the one sort of rumour in terms of an outgoing is it looks like Gogic will be leaving us. I've seen a lot of rumours going about that Gogic is either going down south or going abroad. He's been linked with Morecambe, although that one's sort of fallen apart a bit, and it now looks like he'll be going abroad. I think that's a right call. Gogic, he was a decent enough player last season, but I don't think he really fits into Maloney's system for me. And I don't think we really need a player like that. So I think Gogic going is not any great surprise to me. I think Maloney will be getting rid of some of the dead wood as well as the window goes on. So finally, in terms of transfers, what areas do we need to strengthen in? So very quickly, just give us a position that we need to strengthen in. Charlie, shoot.
Keeper and left back.
Calvin?
That's a good one, Charlie. We need a striker, creative centre mid. Don't have any. There's zero creativity at the football club, I feel. Scott Allen's a fantastic player, but with his health and that, I feel like we need to sort of move on from Scott Allen in terms of like putting too much expectation on him. And I think having someone else in there would be really good. I feel like I've said that I feel like we're too defensive. I don't like when he plays Jake Doyle Hayes and Newell. It's not creative enough for me. It's quite defensive and it's side to side and it's backwards. I like football, like Maloney's saying. This Maloney football he's got to play free flowing attacking football. That's what I want to see. I want to see us having a go at teams. I don't want to. I honestly would. I'd rather go watch a team that would get me up off my seat. I mean, or have them on the edge of my seat rather than try to defend a 1-0 lead or a 2-1 lead. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd rather go for 3 or 4. I would. I mean, see what it's like for a season. Do you know what I mean? Because this sitting back on doesn't really do us any good either. I think we need a creative centre mid. I think Joe Newell is. For me, I'm not a massive fan. I think he's good at breaking up the play and things like that. But sometimes I feel like personally, when the going gets tough, he doesn't do enough for me. It's just my opinion. I don't know what you think. I think Mueller fits in the striker category, and obviously this Melkerson as well. But until then, Doidge and Nisbet's too light with Jamie Gillan as a backup. That's too light up there. Centre half, we're going to need in our centre half because McGregor's finished. Porteous we've got a 3-match ban. Hanlon isn't the best. So really, you've got Hanlon with this black three that Maloney likes to play Hanlon. He likes to play black three. It's going to be Hanlon, Porteous, and McGinn's out of contract at the end of the year. Do you know what I mean? So centre back and a striker for me.
Yeah, for me, I agree with it. I'm going to say we need another. We're going to say I'm going to say a centre mid. I think we need another centre mid that's sort of more creative side of it. Definitely, I think that's something that we're looking for and we should be looking for. Next one for me is if we don't extend McGinn's contract, we don't give him a new contract, I think a right back that can also play in that centre half role for me, that would be good.
That's what we've got in Harry Clark, mate, I think.
Definitely. If I mean, obviously, this is all like theoreticals now. So if he joins in, it would be good just to get another one through the door because you want to have bodies in case of injuries and everything. Another one I'd say is definitely a goalkeeper. I like Big Matt Macy, but I think right now you've not got enough. I do think, like, to me, I like him. He's a decent enough shot stopper, and his distribution and the fact that he won't come out for crosses. Well, having said that, Maloney seems to have changed that. That fact, I think that's let him down a bit, but I think we need another top goalkeeper to challenge him because I think Dabrowski's great, but he's just, I don't think he's really your second choice goalkeeper. And well, David Mitchell, I'm sorry, but come on, he's come out of the third division with Clyde. You need somebody more solid. And I think, to me, at his age as well, he's obviously just been brought in to help Sammy as a goalkeeping coach. Let's be honest. And to help sort of, because for what I've seen and what I've heard, he's been helping younger players in the academy team as well. So obviously he's more on a coaching side of it and he'll play if he's needed. So I think we need another decent goalkeeper that Macy and them can battle it out for the starting spot. And yeah, I think another striker wouldn't go amiss either. So that wraps up our first podcast of 2022. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. And thank you for your support over 2021. It was absolutely amazing. It was a pleasure of mine to become a part of the podcast in 2021. Not only have I got more media experience by doing this podcast, I've met two of my best mates to it as well now. So it's been great getting to do the podcast with the lads over 2021, and we've done so many amazing things, and we wouldn't be able to do that without your support, everybody that listens. So thank you so much, everybody.
Just quickly, Jack, what was your highlight of 2021? What was your favourite episode?
My favourite episode?
The one he was on, the first one, surely.
It's got to, well, I was going to say it's got to be interviewing Big Shiv because obviously she's my favourite Hibs player, but I did that for my own YouTube channel. No, wrong Gordon, but I've got to say my first episode because look at what it started. Look at what it started. Look at where it began.
Aye.
So yeah, that's got to be my highlight as the new member of the podcast. So I've become part of the furniture now, eh? So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, what, Calvin? Are you going to say something? Your internet's packed up again.
Aye, I want to hear Charlie's. What's your highlight of 2021?
I think it was the first episode, mate. Just getting it started and seeing what it's come like. Obviously, getting to interview Ron, and that's massive. But just if we hadn't made that first step, then we wouldn't have been where we are. So, the first one for me, I think it's been a great ride since, and looking forward to this year again. And 46 down, I think 43.
43. I think this year is
43. I'm ahead of myself. Maybe 46 will be an exciting one. Who knows? But we're doing good, mate. I think good things are coming as well. So, what about yourself?
I think in terms of episodes, it's probably got to be the Ron Gordon one. I was dead nervous about that, but I couldn't believe how easy it was to talk to in that and how comfortable it made you feel. Like
it was
that's probably the one I was most nervous for. I enjoyed that. my experience has probably been I really enjoyed when we got to go to the hospitality. I thought that was
That
class,
was.
man. I mean, for what this started, just three us numpties sitting talking about Hibs that probably we thought maybe my dad and my dog would listen to. Do you know what I mean? I probably didn't expect many more than that, but to have over 800 followers and that, and we've had over 2,000 listens on Spotify and that is quite big. Like, yeah, I'm quite proud of it. Like, I just
No, it's
started
been.
it out just to talk and catch up with used to, but
Aye.
I've enjoyed the week to week catching up using that. It's been good. Like,
It has been.
really
It's
good.
been great to be a part of it. Aye. So I think there we go. Before we all start greeting, we better finish up. So anyway, guys, thank you for all your support and for everything that all our listeners have done to support us. So we'll see you all at the next episode. Until next time, glory to the Hibs.
Hey, let's know what thunderstorms